folks. This is Hector Bordas, Conversations with Hector. And today I have the privilege and the honor of digging deep into somebody's life, Lily Gibarac. Lily is a pretty amazing person. We met a few years ago. We were both getting our certification for executive coaching, and we have built a relationship over the years. Lily's an expert leadership consultant, heart-based mentor, and creative business strategist, certified executive coach, and licensed professional counselor. She is co-author of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, Congrats, The Ultimate Guide to Soul-Aligned Business. And we're going to dig deep into that because I'm very curious about this. She holds various degrees, including a bachelor's degree in computer science, master's degree in counseling, and a PhD in ABD in organizational and leadership development. Wow, impressive. Lily works with conscious, high-achieving professional business women who are ready to unlock potential and stop compromising their dreams for responsibility so they can create the impact, influence, and prosperous life that they deserve and desire. Lily, that is phenomenal. We're going to learn a lot more about that, and I hope that it's okay that we touched upon all those different things. I think it's people getting to know you and your work and this heart-based leadership. I really want to explore that. What does that mean to you and to others? So I'm hoping we can start with the book and tell me more about the book, Soul Aligned Business. How did that come together and your part in it?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be speaking with you and speaking with your audience. So, hello, everyone. It was an interesting journey, actually. You know, it's just, I realized I am one of those people that sort of sits kind of in the background waiting for invitation. And there was a point of time when the main author reached out to me in pursuit of looking for contributors for this book. And the idea really behind is to give a blueprint for people who are ready to step into their wholeness. That's how I like to address it. And the other way to put it is just to be fearlessly authentic. And I was just absolutely delighted to be invited because it is so aligned with everything that I stand for, everything that I firmly believe in, and the change I'm trying to facilitate. So, of course, I said yes.
That's fantastic. And your chapter on dismantling the superwoman myth, I read it several times, and there's so many parts of it that I myself can connect, even though I'm not a superwoman, but I still was able to connect with some of those pieces. Yeah. What is the overall message of the book?
Well, the overall message of the book, including my chapter, really is to give people a sense of empowerment, that there is something that is so much bigger than who we think we are. And when we shut off that perceived notion of limited thinking and beliefs about what's possible for us, we really truly unlock that endless area of possibilities. And, you know, from my personal experience and from having had discussion with many of contributing authors, I'm seeing a common pattern of people sitting in silence, doubting themselves, allowing that inner critic or gremlins, as I like to put it and how I refer to them, take the best of them. And for me personally, my intention behind is to show that there is a different way that our personal stories, our challenges, our obstacles, they're not there to stop us, to prevent us from reaching that dream, the deep inner longing and desire. They're there to empower us, to give us that essential strength, skills, knowledge, and gifts we need to step into that fuller, more expanded, and more authentic version of ourselves.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I mean, even for myself, growing up, we experience different things. Our education, our parents, our friends have an influence, and sometimes that constricts us, and we get in this little box, and outside that box, there's this huge, amazing world of opportunities, and many of us fail to see that, or even know how to get there, how to explore that. And the potential that we all have, it's quite remarkable. And we'll touch upon that later, because I just a quote from the book that we want to talk about that. But tell me, what is a superwoman? I mean, from your chapter, what is that? Or who is that superwoman?
I love what you said. I love what you said about you being able to relate to it, even though you're not a woman. Mm-hmm. And I want to honor your honesty and your transparency in that, because I think that terminology, which is a well-defined psychological term, should be really expanded to define all of us, superwoman and superman, who are trying to navigate through this increasingly difficult world. Mm-hmm. Deadlines, numbers, piling expectations. And I am finding myself, and I find a lot of my clients really struggle with a sense of numbness. It's that sense of resignation. The way that I put it is like compassion fatigue and burnout, because we desperately want to make the difference. And we give all of ourselves out, not always receiving in the way as we expected. So when there is that lack of reciprocation, that's what sort of leads to disillusionment, and it starts leading to that downward spiral that ends up into that burnout. And there is another important point that you brought up, like our upbringing. In the process of our upbringing, and I really want to honor our past. I want to honor our parents, acknowledging the fact that we become parents, and we get that little cute, sweet little bundle of joy, and we simply don't know how to navigate. We don't know what to do with it. Buying any kind of electronic equipment, the first thing we go to, it's a manual. But here it is, that little human being that comes into our life, and whatever we as adults have not learned, integrated, overcome, we start projecting, and we are not able sometimes to be there in a way that our child needs us. And every time when little babies or growing adults' needs, especially between that age from 0 to 7, when the main development unfolds, when our needs are not met, we end up in a state of overwhelm, which predisposes us to certain challenges later on in life, and leading to chronic stress, anxieties, depression, and some of the health issues. So that's what I sort of see, and it's a big, huge topic. I can talk about it for a very long time, but just for the benefit of this conversation, I think that's where I'm going to stop, unless you have more questions.
Of course I do. I'm so glad you said that we had to honor our parents.
Yes.
And I honor my parents, and I know they tried their best.
Absolutely.
And I the same thing with my son, and it's like you said, there's no manual, and it's complex. It's so complex, and our experiences as a child, and then as a parent and adult, it's very complex, and it shapes our children. It really does. And I mean, like for myself, not until I did a lot of thinking and journaling, a lot of alone time figuring things out, that I was able to move forward and experience a whole new world. And your chapter on the semantics of Superwoman talks about that, talks about your journey. And it's up, and I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but in there, you mentioned exhaustion, stress, overwhelm, being numb, and then how you moved from that. What happened? What opened up? What experience, shaped you from that moment on?
Well, as we already established, who we are today is accumulation of many of our past experiences and events that led us to the point and define us as who we are right now. In the process of our growing up and our development, we sort of adopt our little mind, as genius as it is, doesn't know how to cope with certain challenges. If mom and dad are arguing, we internalize that and we feel that we are responsible for it. And if we can only do this or be a little sweet girl that is compliant, that is pleasing mom and dad. So there is that magical thinking that what we do can sort of influence and change the outcome of what's happening outside of in our world. And we sort of go through that process adopting certain beliefs about us and certain coping mechanism and skills, which hence leads then down the line and has that spillover effect into every single aspect of our life, where we become superwoman, or superman, where we are overthinking, overdoing, with tendency to be perfectionists, to procrastinate, and to be people pleasers. Because there is that deep inner unmet need and desire to be accepted, to be loved, to be approved. It's universal. It doesn't matter of our age. So we have some deeply seated, repressed emotional triggers that unconsciously drive our behavior because there is that unmet need that's underneath that. So when I started unpacking and looking at all of that, it wasn't at all a graceful process. I mean, like what I see with myself and what I see with so many hyperachievers is like we are stubborn. We are super intelligent. We have learned that with our mind, with our rational mind, we can think ourselves and we can overcompensate our deadlines, expectations, we're doing more. And we think that, oh, if something is not just the way that we want it to be, if we do more, if we try harder, and if we only do this and that, we would get a different outcome. And in my case, I was a full-time employee. I was going through multiple degrees in my life and having a additional part-time job. And it wasn't until I experienced a health crisis, which literally forced me to stop and slow down and rethink. What am I doing and why? Why do I do what I do? And of course, that process is just like a grief process. It's just like a wave, you know. Sometimes you're on top and you think you got it all, and then the next thing that you know, you are tumbling down in waves, and you're crushed and burned, and all of it, and then you come back again. So it was a convoluted process that thought to me that for as long as I externalized and outsourced my power and continue to blame people, circumstances around me, I was staying in that victim consciousness and a mentality that only perpetuated the same. And only until I was 100% willing to accept responsibility for my thoughts, for my mindset, for everything that's happening in my life, and reclaim the power which I gave away to everybody else, I wasn't able to come into the process of healing because my body was in that constant, perpetual, chronic state of hyper-arousal. And there is no healing from that state.
You said so much there, so much to unpack. That part about it took a crisis to, I'm going to use the word wake up, and you hear that so often, different people. It took getting sick or this or that, and before people realize that, hey, wait a second, what's going on here? And you start to realize, and you mention all these external factors, and really the answers are not out there. They're not. They're really, the answers are internal. And so, you know, the work that you do, and I'm learning more about it, is you're here to help people that hopefully they don't have to go through that crisis. You can help them much earlier and tap into that knowledge that they have within themselves.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're making that point, because you know there are sort of two motivating factors in our life, you know, and it's inner desire and drive. You know, we are either seeking to avoid pain or gain pleasure. And that's what's sort of driving us, whether we know it or not. And what I am really standing for, and I stand for very firmly, because that is what my path has been, that obstacle in our life come not to sever that dream or whatever is in front of us that we're trying to, but they're coming to show us the way, because the only way out is through it. And the way through it is through reconnecting again with our own source of inner power, strength, and wisdom. And that is what sort of inspires my work and the idea of heart intelligence, because heart is, literally and metaphorically speaking, the greatest source of our life and strength. You know, our mind likes to think and make us believe that it is running the show. But if our heart...
It tries very...
Yes, too hard.
It tries very hard to say, hey, pay attention to me. And then we have to find ways to pay attention to other things.
It reminds me to that scene in Wizard of Oz. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention. You know, it's kind of a funny way to really look at that interaction between our mind and our ego and who we really think and believe that we are. And, you know, truly, when we start unpacking, and that's what I see with a lot of my clients, some of the driving desires and values and accomplishments and objectives that we supposedly have, you know, when we start like digging deep and looking at it, they're not even our own. We have inherited that in our process of acculturation, of, you know, of growing up. And it's like, it feels, there comes the point where we really reach that realization. Am I even living my own life? Or life that other people expect of me to be living? So my message is, we don't have to reach the crisis, health or some other kind of crisis, to discover that there is so much more to us than what our minds wants us to believe we are.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, our mind does limit us. It really does, in so many different ways. And when we're able to explore that, explore our ideas and who we really are, it's amazing what we can do. It's really, really amazing. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. And then hopefully we can talk about how you do all of this. But there's a few words in your chapter of the book that I want to know more about. You mentioned that if you're reading that chapter, then you're one of those people who are on a certain level of consciousness. What is that level of consciousness?
That is a very big question. So, well, what I really want to suggest there, and audience that I am reaching out to, are those people who have reached that level of awareness that whatever is so deep inside of us, that longing for something else, for something different, even if that is a fleeting thought, is this all that my life is about? Am I going to be on this hamster wheel, chasing goals and running after some idealized success that does not bring me anything? I firmly believe that we are reaching that critical mass and point of consciousness and awareness when we acknowledge that, first of all, that inner drive inside of us is a gift. And it's a gift not to be held and not to be suppressed. It is to be shared with the world. Because the moment when we allow ourselves to authentically step into who we are and how we are meant to be in life, we give other people permission to do the same. And that is how we are starting to create and build that momentum of changing not just corporate world, but changing the world. And I am on a mission to be a messenger that yes, that is possible. Yes, your deep inner longing has its place. This world needs you. Everybody needs your gift, because just like if you want to sit and have a meal, you need to bring all of these different elements in order to create that exquisite entree.
So some people believe, hey, I'm just a speck in this huge beach, just one little sand, and the little speck of sand is surrounded by family, by friends, and so what we do, our actions, our decisions, impact those immediate pieces of sand around us, and then it just carries forward. So and then now through social media and other means, we easily connect with thousands of people. So what we do, what we say, and how we can influence, it reaches so many people, so many people. So we do have an impact, and then being authentic and carrying that message forward, we can do this, and you through your work is doing that. And I want to know more about how you do this. How does this work? How are you able to get people to these women to think more about their inner self, their authentic, and all those barriers that they have, and how to move forward from that? How do you do that? I'm very curious about that.
Well, thank you for asking that question. It's a beautiful question. First of all, my entire work has been inspired and sort of led and informed by my personal journey. So I am not suggesting and offering to anybody what I have not done myself. I am not a person that would ever buy a book and give it as a gift to somebody if I have not read it first. So it's like walk your talk to me. So I have designed the process. It's a 3-step process where we are starting at looking at some of the core beliefs, some of these limiting beliefs that are stopping us from reaching that more expansive state. And one of the necessary steps in order to achieve that is to really be safe to arrive in our body. And I mentioned that a couple of minutes ago as we discussed that. We have that basic state of our being. You know, we can be in that state of sympathetic or parasympathetic state where the entire nervous system is in hyperarousal. It's known as fight or flight. And we all know that mechanism and how that works. But when you are in a prolonged state of that hyperarousal, there is something else that happens that's known as a state known as freeze. And that is what I feel like the stage where we are collectively. Because collectively, we have been traumatized starting from 2020, because there is so much uncertainty, so much fear, and so much chaos around us, which just amplifies all of our personal inner struggle and challenges that we are dealing with. And it's simply pushing people over the edge that they are not able to cope. Mm-hmm. And again, in order to start the process of healing, we have to calm down that nervous system and connect with our body. Because as I said, most of the time we are disassociated. You know, we are somewhere in our thinking bubble, you know, believing that our mind is running the show, and we are so busy not paying attention. You know, another example, I love to use examples. It's like if you are on a highway driving 80 miles an hour, are you going to be able to pay attention to little details? Are you going to see a beautiful bird? Are you going to see a beautiful flower? So, in order to start paying attention to what's happening with our body and heart have that inner wisdom and knowledge that guide us through the process of healing itself. We just need to allow it. And in order to allow it, we need to slow down. So instead of rushing on a highway at 80 miles, how about we take a leisurely walk and look and pay attention? So that's how we start unfolding. And then, you know, our body and our heart intelligence naturally leads us to the next step. Because all of the answers, everything we need to know, it's already inside. We've never been broken. We don't need to be fixed. We just need to let go of what no longer serves us and let that beautiful, expansive, gorgeous self see the light of the day and shine.
I really like your analogy of getting in a car and driving. I know sometimes that you get in a car, you go from point A to point B, you get to point B, and you go, well, how do I get here? And it's just, you're on this automatic mode, and you're missing so much. And even why are you going in that direction? What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And you know, oh, we're always so busy. I'm so busy. You're busy doing what? For what are you trying to really get to? Is it the next thing you want to buy, or the bigger house, or something external from us?
Yes, and that is how we end up in the state of outsourcing our power. And we feel we are at mercy of outside circumstances and events. And the truth of the matter is, no matter what is happening around us, we always have control over our own responses. And if we are in integrity with ourselves and who we are, and not coming from the place of scarcity, which is believing that there is something that we are missing, and we need to get more. We need to accomplish another car, a better, another model. A phone came out. Let's get it. Because it's so superficial and shallow, and it's just covering and numbing down that inner gaping hole and longing for something more meaningful. And we all reach that point that we got to stop and think. So why do I need that next? What does success truly mean to me? Is that better car going to make me truly happy? May give some satisfaction for a little bit, but it distracts us from that deep inner work and excavating that beauty and infinite resource that is available, so we can stand firm like a mountain and unshakable no matter what is happening around us.
That mountain unshakable, and our potential for so much. There's a quote I also took from your chapter that I think it's somebody else's quote, but it says, "Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." And that's so powerful. What does that mean to you? You talked a little bit about it already, but what does that mean to you?
What does it mean to you?
Oh my gosh, it's interesting when you get on a journey to understand what's really important, to understand what are those moments of happiness, and coming to learn that you don't really look for happiness or try to find happiness. Is that you actually get happier when you eliminate those things that make you unhappy. So you start to eliminate those things, and you come to realize, at least for me, it's the human connection and meeting people like you and getting to know more people like you. And the more you do that, it just keeps growing. It's like, a little snowball on top of a hill, and it just keeps growing. And you stand back and you see the amazing things that start happening for you, and you go, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And it's kind of scary because it just continues to grow, and it is scary because you go, well, I can actually do this, and I can actually do more of this, and it is a little scary. And then the more you do it, it just continues to grow and evolve. And, we talked about that analogy, just a grain of sand, but that little grain of sand all of a sudden is impacting a lot of people, and the other way around also. And when you look at that, you go, oh my gosh, what's going on here? This is pretty damn amazing. And it is a little scary.
Yeah, and think about that. I mean, just carrying on with that train of thought. It's like, how do we end up with a pearl? It's a little pebble that got stuck in the shell. And from all of that grinding that we go through life, we end up with a beautiful, shining pearl. And oftentimes, we think we are not worthy enough to even believe and accept that we are powerful beyond our measure, that we are that spark of light and beauty, because we are not alone. We are here in a collective space where we are tapping into that infinite source of consciousness that is supportive of all of us to continue to grow. And my responsibility, your responsibility, is to support each other's growth, not to be tearing each other apart. And just to go back for a second about what you said about happiness, because there is that sense of notion that, again, happiness is that elusive thing that I need to search for But the truth of the matter is,
Right.
it's an inside job. That if you cannot find it deep inside of you, that sense of content, satisfaction, peace with yourself and who you are, there's no way we can find it. It's going to continue to elude us.
Really, it's so amazing and so incredible that you and I are such good friends, and to hear that this is what you're doing for others, helping them get there and understand that, and helping them, figure out their heart's energy and how to use that energy. It must be beautiful work. And what's next for you? What's on your mind?
I think where you're heading with that. Well, my next step really is to challenge everything I thought was possible for me, and all of the expectations of me. So my next challenge really is to let go of everything that has, up until this point, defined me in any way. And I am in the process of purging and letting go of my belongings, and for a while saying goodbye to many of my friends, family, and just adopting that nomad lifestyle and allow my heart to lead me. Because even I don't know.
Fantastic.
But living with a question is my mantra, and I do want to encourage everyone else to live in a way of asking the question, what else is possible for me?
Exactly. With powerful beyond measure possibilities. So I hope this next journey of yours that you document this. Yes, I'm serious. I think it'll be I think it'll be amazing to know about this journey. Where does it take you, and what did you learn, and who else did you influence? I think that'll be fantastic. So, no pressure here.
It sounds like no pressure at all. Yeah, it is definitely a lovely thought that I will entertain for sure. So thank you for that idea. Okay. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I'll be asking you, send me an email every week of what you're doing, and I'll write the book for you. How's wonderful.
That? We have been complimenting each other in such a unique way and challenging one another. So I am very grateful for our connection, and I am looking forward to discover what's next for both of us.
Exactly. Yeah, fantastic. So, Lee, where can people get a hold of you, get in touch with you to know more about you and your work, and for you to help them? Where
my website is www.lilygibarac.com, and I'm sure you will be kind enough to post the link to my website. I'm very active on LinkedIn and not as much on Instagram and Facebook, but if people are interested in hearing more and just getting a little taste of what working with me is like, feel free to hop on my website and schedule a discovery call. I'd be happy to meet.
Nice. Oh, fantastic. I hope a lot of people do that. I think so many will benefit from your work and from the energy from your heart. I'm going to ask you one more question, and I'm stealing this from one of my favorite podcasters, Tim Ferriss, so I give him 100% credit for this. If you had a billboard, metaphorically, and you can write anything on that billboard,
oh gosh,
what would it say?
So here's what comes to my mind, and I think I'm going to read because I was taken back by the power. Theodore Roosevelt said something beautiful that just speaks to my heart right now. And this is what he said. If I fail, at least I will fail while daring greatly, so that my place will never be shared with those who are cold and timid and never knew either victory or defeat. So go.
Wow, beautiful.
Alla Victoria.
What a way. Yes. Well, what a way to end what I'm going to call our first conversation, because I know when you're out there letting go of all your possessions, there's going to be another talk. There's going to be another conversation between you and I, just to hear about your adventures, and definitely want to do that. And I want to thank you for your time, Lily. This is fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing everything.